So the first chapter dropped and here's my review. The main JoJo's name is Jodio Joestar. Now I can tell whether that's the worst name of the JoJo's or the best. I don't even know if it's a real name, like did the word JoJo and Dio just make a fusion dance and Jodio came out? Is that even how you pronounce that? Like Jodio? Jodio? I don't even know, but I'm gonna go with Jodio. Anyway, you can already tell a throwback to part 5 with him also being 15 years old. Just like Giorno, he's probably the most cockiest JoJo yet. And I'm not even making this up, he literally addresses how he's cocky and not humble enough for the reader's liking. Which I find so genius. Up until now all the JoJos were confident in their ability, yeah, but they weren't arrogant or cocky about it. Even someone like Joseph knew when to take his fights and knew the limits of his abilities. Probably better than any other character in JoJo's in my opinion, but that's another topic. He's also like a mirror to Giorno. Whereas Giorno draws the line at drugs, especially selling drugs to kids, Jodio doesn't really mind that at all. He works as a drug gopher and just delivers the drugs, no questions asked. He doesn't seem to care who takes it or what happens to them. All he wants so far is to get filthy rich. Now this reminds me of his name and of part 1, Phantom Blood. You know how his name has Dio in it? And he wants to get filthy rich? Well, that's literally what Dio wanted in part 1 when he joined the Joestar family. Jodio is probably the least likable JoJo so far, simply because he deals drugs and just, like I said, is a cocky kid. But I do predict that as the story progresses, that he will have some development and becomes more humble. I believe that in order for Jodio to become more humble, he needs to experience losing. Also his stand, November Rain, kinda reminds me of a mix of Wonder of You and Fun Fun Fun. Obviously the design is more like Fun Fun Fun, but the way the liquid penetrated the skins of the police officers reminds me of when the rain during the Wonder of You arc penetrated the skin of Mamozuka Rai. But yeah, I'm sure we will learn more about his stand in the future chapters and what it actually does. Also, one thing I disliked about this chapter was that Jodio used aura. Now look, okay, look, basically. I like that Jotaro uses aura, and I love that Jolyne is also using aura because, well, she's a daughter, you know, she's the daughter of Jotaro, that makes sense. Then when I got to part 7, you see like more and more characters starting to use aura. Part 8, Josuke also uses aura. Why, Araki, why? You have this unique thing going with like, okay, Jotaro and Jolyne use aura, Dio and Giorno are using Muda, you know, Josuke had Dora, but like it didn't even come up with a new Josuke. It's such a waste, in my opinion. And then like, you know, with like the part 9 JoJo, maybe you can give him a Muda, why not? He's like supposed to be the counterpart kind of Giorno, maybe? Come on, man, like why did you give him aura again, man? I don't know, maybe I'm just being too nitpicky. What do you think? Am I being too much of a bitch about this? Or like, I just want aura to be reserved for Jotaro and Jolyne, you know what? Also, now we gotta look at the timeline. The only thing that can give us an accurate information of what year the story is set in is the COVID epidemic. A character mentions COVID, and because the characters at school aren't wearing masks, it's likely that the story is set after the COVID regulations in the USA were reduced. So it's likely that the story takes place around 2022. It can't be 2020 because at that time everyone was wearing masks. Maybe it's possible for the story to be set even further into the future, but I'll just stick with 2022 for now. Also, fun fact, in my first YouTube video I predicted that the story takes place in 2026 and that the JoJo is at least 15 years old. So yeah, I'm just... Anyway, we got some side characters. Dragona is the brother of Jodio, like the first actual Joe bro with like a stand, not like Nicholas from part 7, he was like, I mean he was cool but he died and he didn't have a stand. But Dragona actually has a stand, which is cool. I will talk more about that later. But I was so confused at the start because I thought that was a girl, and later on I thought he was like a transgender, and then he's like still referred to as a him, so I don't know yet. But Jodio said he was really into feminine stuff and that he got surgeries done and stuff, so like he's like a drag queen, I think. Anyway, his stand reminds me of a mixture between Wally and Sex Pistols. I was visually disgusted when he like pulled the eyes of that one officer away. That was so weird, but it was also really cool. There's also this guy named Paco Lovelante or Lovelantes, or I have no clue how to pronounce. I'd say this. I would just go with Lovelante, Paco. I would just call him Paco, why not? And we don't know a lot about him yet, but he's a real Chad apparently. His stand literally allows him to basically use his muscles to grab onto things. That's so dope. Then there's my favorite character yet, Pink Guy. His name isn't Pink Guy, but we don't know his name yet, so I'll just call him Pink Guy for now. Anyway, the principal of the school he goes to also has a clothing shop. She's more like the boss of Jodio and the others. And the chapter ends with them getting a new mission, to rob a diamond that is worth $6 million. Jodio also refers many times to a thing he calls mechanism, how he's almost destined to be successful. In my opinion, this really reminds me of part 8. This is just the way he refers to the concept of flow from part 8, which is another huge topic. But it's possible that these two things, the mechanism and the flow, are both the same thing with simply different names. What do you think? Now there are two super important things here. Remember how part 5 is literally the shortest part in terms of canon length. The story only spans for like a week or so. Now the boss says that the owner of the diamond is a Japanese man, to whom I will also have some things to say. Basically, this rich Japanese guy is on vacation in Kona, and the crew is in Oahu. You can see that they are basically a pretty good distance away from the place where the Japanese guy's vacation home is at. Now the boss also says that the Japanese guy is only here for about 12 more days, so it's possible that just like in part 3 where they had 50 days to get to Egypt, now they only have 12 days to get to Kona. And it's possible that the entire part is this story where they essentially need to get to Kona and they will have to fight stand users on the way there and stuff. However, it's also possible that they arrive in Kona by like the next chapter, because Jodio narrates how the mission was apparently more difficult than they thought. Do you think that they will arrive in Kona really quickly, or do you think it's like this thing of part 3 where Egypt, or in this case Kona, is like this main goal and they gotta go this whole way in unconventional ways to not attract attention of enemy stand users? I'm really excited to see what's there for us. And now for the super theory of the video. The Japanese guy that they have to steal a diamond from is not an unknown character, I believe. It's someone from the Higashikata family from part 8. The reason why is because the Higashikata family is really wealthy, and the guy who owns the diamond obviously also has a lot of wealth. As I said, the story is roughly set in 2022. Tsurugi was 11 years old in part 8, which was set in 2011, and now that it's at least 2022, it means that Tsurugi is about 22 years old by now. Dude, listen, if any of these characters end up being the owner of the diamond, and the crew maybe even has to fight the owner of the diamond, I will lose my shit. My shit will come out. It will splatter the walls. That will be so hype. JoJo has only done this once before. The only time JoJo's had a good guy in an older part turn into an enemy in a later part was with Phantom Blood and Battle Tendency with the character of Straizo. Anyway, that's all I have to say about the first chapter. Really promising start so far. I will make these chapter reviews / predictions / theories / me just rambling about shit with every new chapter, so just leave a sub if you want to follow this part with me. I personally cannot wait to find out what the stand of Pink Guy has to offer. He's unironically so cool looking, man. I know he didn't do anything yet, but really, come on, man, I just love his design, man. Did I forget something that stood out? Let me know in the comments. And what are you looking forward to, huh? Comment it and we can maybe have a nice discussion.